Alright everyone, first time back at the lake after a couple weeks. This hand's about an hour into the session. I bought him for 400, kind of got chipped down when I looked down at ace 8, 7, 5, double suited in middle position in a straddled pot. There's an early position limp. I make it 50, over to the small blind who makes the call. Big blind then 3-bets to 200 and back to me. The player in the big blind definitely likes to mix it up. While I don't have a great hand here, I have a hand that's not going to be in terrible shape against anything. And he's certainly the player that can be putting this 3-bet in pretty lightly with a marginal hand that he doesn't really mind gambling with, as he sees myself and the player in the small blind are pretty short. So it's not really a large risk for him. So for those reasons, I decided to go with it and push everything in the middle. Small blind has a little bit less than me. He makes the call, and big blind, of course, calls as well. So we're going 3 ways to a run out. Flop comes out king 5-2 rainbow. Turn brings a 3 of diamonds, giving us now backdoor straight and flush draws. River gives us the nuts with a 9 of diamonds, so I turn over my hand and both my opponents muck, so we're tripling up here. Here look down at king, king, queen 9, single suited in the straddle. There are 4 limpers over to me, and I check my option, and we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes king 10-5 rainbow, checks to me, I bet 30, and there are 2 callers, so we're going 3 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 7 of clubs, I bet 130, and both my opponents fold, so we take it down. Here look down at ace jack 10-7 single suited in the straddle. There are 3 limpers to me. I check my option. We're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes 9-8-6 with 2 diamonds. Checks to me. I check. Player on my left bets 40. Folds to me. I check raise to 105, and my opponent thinks a bit and folds, so we take it down. Here look down at queen 10-10-8 single suited on the button in a straddled pot. There is 1 late position limper. I also limp. Both the blinds complete. Straddler checks, and we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes 10-3-2 rainbow, checks to me, I bet 35, and only the big blind calls, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings another 2, my opponent checks to me, I bet 60, and unfortunately he folds, so we take it down. Here look down at ace king king 7, single suited in the straddle. There are 3 limpers to me, I check my option, we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes 8-5-4 with 2 diamonds, checks to me, I check, and action checks through, so still going 4 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 7 of diamonds, small blind bets 20, I make the call, and late position calls as well, so we're going 3 ways to a river. River brings a queen, small blind checks, I bet 45, and both opponents fold, so we take it down. Here look down at ace jack 10-4 single suited in middle position. There's a limper to me, I limp, player on my left also limps, both the blinds check, and we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace 4-3 with 2 hearts, checks to the big blind who bets 15, I make the call, and everyone else folds, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings an 8, he now checks, I bet 25, and he quickly makes the call, so we're still going heads up to a river. River brings a 3, my opponent checks, and here I don't believe I can get value from worse, so I check back as well. I turn over my hand, and he mucks, so we're taking it down. Here look down at 10-9-8-6 double suited in the hijack in a straddled pot. There is 1 limper, folds to me, I also limp, over to the cutoff who makes it 50, over to the limper who calls, and I call as well, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace 8-4 rainbow, checks to me, I check, over to the original raiser who also checks, so we're still going 3 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 7 of hearts. Obviously not having the flush draw here weakens my hand a bit, but having the wrap definitely gives me enough to take a stab at it, so I bet 85 and both my opponents fold, so we take it down. Here look down at ace 10-9 single suited on the button in a straddled pot. There's an early position limp, folds to me, I make it 35, and there are 2 callers, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes king jack 4 rainbow, checks to me, and I also check as well, so we're still going 3 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 7, big blind now bets 40, the limper calls, and I also call, so we're still going 3 ways to a river. River brings an ace, and both my opponents check. I don't believe either of them are that strong, so I want to bet smaller to target a potential 2-pair holding, so I bet 65. Big blind folds over to the limper who makes the call. I turn it over, and we're good, so taking it down. Here look down at queen jack 9-5 double suited in the cutoff in a straddled pot. There's an early position limp, I limp, the button and small blind do the same. Big blind then makes it 50. 1 caller to me, I call, and both players behind call as well, so we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes 10-9-5 rainbow, action checks to me, I bet 210, and everyone folds, so we take it down. Here look down at ace 9-3 double suited on the button in a straddled pot. There's an early position limp. Next player makes it 50. One caller to me, I call, and the limper calls. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. I'm sure many of you are going to ask why I didn't 3-bet there. And, I'm going to say the same thing I've said to many of you in the comments section before, is that pre-flop in PLO, your edge is not really that great. Even with double suited aces, if you just kind of pick double suited aces and then pick 2 other random hands, you're really not that big of a favorite. This isn't Hold'em where, aces heads up pretty much always has like 75 to 80% equity. It's very razor thin margins pre-flop. Post flop is really where you can kind of make your money. You can get your 50, 60, 70% equity, even heads up or even 3 ways. Whereas pre-flop, it's really just not going to be the case. Flop comes king 5-2 with 2 clubs. Checks the original raiser who bets 105. Player behind calls over to me, and in the situation, the player I'm against here, he's pretty solid. He's a Swedish guy who doesn't really mess around too often. He actually played a little tighter in this session than I've seen him play in the past. So for those reasons, I really put him on pocket kings. So don't really want to raise here when I'm behind. So I just called and the other player folded. So we ended up going 3 ways to a turn. The turn brings an 8. Now the original raiser bets 400. Other player fold over to me. So at this point, I definitely don't believe he's making these bets with the hand that I currently beat. And usually if you're beat on the turn, it's a good idea to fold, as your draws definitely drop in equity, only having 1 card to come. So for those reasons, I decided to fold. But looking back, if I kind of compare my hand to if he does have a set, at the top of his range, I'm getting about 30% equity. If he has a hand such as 2 pair, which is what he later told me he had, then I'm pretty close to a coin flip. And, even if the pot was, let's say 800, which would make the math a little easier, meaning I only need to get, 2 to 1 on my money to make it a profitable call. Definitely should have made the call there. But, as played, I folded. About 30 minutes later, I looked down at aces again, this time ace, king 7, single suited on the button in a straddled pot. There's an early position open to 35, folds to me, I call, and the big blind also called. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes king 10-2 with 2 clubs, action checks to me, and I check as well. So we're still going 3 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 6, and no one seems too interested in the hand as they check back again. So I bet 60, and the big blind makes the call. So we're going heads up to a river. River brings another 6, and now my opponent bets 100, which I thought was pretty interesting in the moment. Didn't figure it to be a card that helped his hand. I put him on some kind of a draw. So I go ahead and make the call, and he turns over king 10, and I turn over my hand to show him the bad news, and we're taking it down here. Here, look down at 8-8-7-7, double suited in the small blind in a straddle pot, over to the cutoff who makes it 40. The button calls, folds to me, and I make the call. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 9-4 rainbow. I check, and both my opponents check back as well. So still going 3 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 6, now giving me an open-ended straight draw. I bet 60, and only the cutoff makes the call. So we're going heads up to a river. River brings a beautiful 5 of spades, and I think about potentially check raising here, but I don't believe it's going to work on this opponent. So I just bet 150, and my opponent thinks a bit and folds. So we take it down. I ended up racking up a little bit after the 8s and 7s hands, played for a little bit over 5 hours. What's up, guys? Wayne back here with you. So today I was in for 400, out for 1706, so profit of 1306. If you haven't already done so, check out the previous video. I'll link it up here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.